Welcome, welcome, welcome. What's going on, bro?
What's happening, man? Happy Sunday.
Man,
Another
another blessed
beautiful week.
Sunday. Yes, sir. Another blessed
Yes,
Sunday, man.
indeed.
Another
Yes,
one.
indeed.
What's going on, man? How's your week?
Um, Busy, just trying to figure some things out, but everything's good, bro. I'm happy to have made it through another week, trying to gear up to get through another one. You know what I mean?
All right. Yeah, I feel
How
you,
about
man.
yourself, man? How you feeling?
I feel a lot better compared to the last couple of weeks. I told you my daughter when she had got sick, I had got sick with her. But like I
Hmm.
always say, man, I'd rather be sick than my child to be sick. So, at the end of the day, man, I'm cool. I'm getting better though.
Absolutely, man. You
You thank
sounding
God.
good. You sounding good. Your
A lot
energy up.
better, right?
Yeah, yeah, and your energy back up. So that's
Yeah,
good, bro.
got a little bit of energy back, man. Still trying to get back. But today
Absolutely.
we got a good one, man. We got a real special good one, man. We got a real good conversation today, man. Again, welcome to the Final Notice podcast, man. We are a live streaming and interactive podcast. We are streaming live on YouTube at Final Notice Podcast. On YouTube, hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification button. So when we do go live, you can get it. We are also on Facebook. Facebook also Final Notice Podcast on Facebook as well. Today we got a very special conversation. We got some special guests with us. But before we bring them on, I would like to introduce, of course, myself. If you guys know, is JoJo. And then I have my brother here. Then I'm gonna go ahead and let him introduce himself before we bring the guests on today.
Hey, God bless everybody. It's me, Aaron. Thank you for tuning in. I'm grateful for you just stopping by and enjoying this conversation with us. Again, please feel free to just jump in the comments. Any questions that you have for any of our guests, put it in. We're going to try to get it to it as soon as possible, get to many, as much as possible. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this one. I'm coming with it today, JoJo. I'm coming with it today, man.
Hey man, look, I expect nothing less, man. Nothing
Yeah,
less.
yeah.
Because I feel like today's conversation is an important conversation piece that we need to have. But let's bring our guests on. So the first person we're bringing on is Terrell Ward.
Right.
Terrell is my mentor. Everybody need a mentor, man. I feel like everybody need a mentor. So Terrell, we're gonna bring Terrell on, and then I'm gonna have him introduce himself. What's going on, Terrell?
What's going on, Kojo? What's going on, Aaron? How you guys doing today?
Doing
Good,
good,
man. How
man.
you feeling, brother?
Hey, man, listen, another day above ground. I'm blessed. I'm
Yeah,
That's
blessed.
right.
I'll
That's
take
right.
it.
That's right.
that's good. So
Awesome.
before I even let you introduce yourself, right? Is one important fact that I feel like people should know about Terrell.
Uh-oh.
Terrell is the author.
Yeah.
And I was going to say this. Terrell is the author of 21 Benefits of Being a Believer. It's a good read. It's a very good read. Very good book, man. I had the pleasure of getting the first hardback copy when I first started with him at our previous job. Terrell is a person that he put his work, his job, and his career on the line to give me an opportunity when I first got home back in 2014. I met Terrell 2015, 2016. Terrell was told that if I succeeded, then he's okay. If I don't
There you go.
succeed, that's his job. And he took a chance on me. And that interview went from an interview to more like a therapeutic session. And I would never forget Terrell for that. Anywhere I'm at, if I had become a billionaire, Terrell would be a billionaire with me.
Oh, man, I'll take that. I'll take that. Y'all heard it here. It's live. It's recorded,
Yeah.
documented. People change up later on. You know how they go. Now I'm messing with you, Coach.
Yeah, I wish you to say something, man. I'm gonna put that joint in the chat so we can get a copy of that, man. So we can look out for it.
He got some good books, man. I got some good books. So the next person we're gonna bring on is gonna be Josh. Josh is a friend of my brother. They work together, and I'm gonna bring him on here too, and then he can also introduce himself. What's up, Josh?
Hey, what up, everybody? Terrell, Aaron, JoJo's good.
How
Going
you
on?
What's going
feeling,
on?
brother? How you feeling?
Feeling good, man. Just came from a baby shower, man.
Hey,
Okay.
and
Congratulations.
word on
Oh
the
no,
street.
not mine. No, my fiance's sister sent me.
Still, congratulations.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Still, there's a new life coming in the world, man.
Word on the
absolutely.
street. Word on the street is Josh is on his way to tying the knot. And it
Yeah,
was really important to bring him on because I felt like we needed to pick his brain for those who are thinking about getting married or looking to be on that platform where you earn one of these hardware that you just can't give to anybody. You have to be selected for
Right.
just kind of like pick his brain to see what he knows and what made him, decide on this beautiful bride to be.
Talk your talk, man.
And then we're gonna bring Caleb on. Caleb is also a good brother of mine. Caleb is the last person of our group. Caleb, what's going on, brother?
What's up, man? What's good, man?
How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. It's a blessing to be on the podcast. You, JoJo, Aaron, y'all doing some great work, man. Building up these men with biblical principles, man, and giving them some solid food to chew on so they can be better individuals, man.
Appreciate
you,
man.
brother. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it, man. All right, so fellas, we're not gonna take any time delaying this conversation. So today's podcast is titled "Men's Role in Marriage." I think it's an important conversation that we have to have because a lot of us men who are married or looking to get married, we have lost our identity within that realm when it comes to being married. And kind of like want to get some of your ideas. What are some of your thoughts? But before we get into that, I think Aaron got some questions maybe he want to ask, but I feel like it is an important conversation. And as you guys know, my favorite saying is the conversation must be uncomfortable in order for us to get comfortable. And I think we are in a time where we are basing everything that we do pretty much what social media tells us how we should be living our lives. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic to Aaron and go ahead and let Aaron take it away.
Yeah, so I have a couple of questions about a lot of things. Hopefully we're just going to dig into your background. I want to get into the mentality of marriage and things like that. And I definitely want to get into, I've been posting all week about happy wife, happy life, so I don't believe in it personally, but we're going to get to it. You know what I'm saying? So my first question I would ask you, gentlemen, is, describe your backgrounds before you got married. Like, how did y'all come up? This is for you too, JoJo. You know what I'm saying? Because you seasoned. Well, a lot of us know a lot about your background, though. But if anything we missing, you jump in on that one. But I'm just like, what the mentality that you had before you got married, got married, and got into your relationship. How was that? Describe it for me.
You go first, bro.
All right, cool. I was wondering if it was going in order. I guess background on marriage. I guess I'll start there. I actually grew up in the church. And so the church that I was in I grew up seeing 20, 30, 40-year marriages, as a kid growing up. And so, but however, I didn't have that directly in the home because, my mom, she actually left when I was 3 years old. She actually got strung out on crack cocaine. And so I was raised by my father, in a wheelchair. My dad was in a wheelchair. He raised him by himself in the hood of Long Beach. And so, I grew up in a broken home, with a father on food stamps, the gutter, right? People getting shot on my doorstep when they used to draw the lines and different things of that nature and seeing a dysfunctional relationship. But I'm
sorry. What area you grew up in?
Long Beach.
California.
Long Beach, California. Yeah, went to church with Snoop Dogg's mom. The
beloved.
Trenches.
For
Okay.
sure.
Shout out to Long Beach, man. Shout out to them, man.
So so growing up, but even with all of that, my dad always had a very strong thought process around relationship. Even though the craziness that my mom put us through, he always was like, "Listen, you're going to be able to find somebody." And I watched him do it in a wheelchair. And, I ended up having a stepmom. Wow. We didn't have like the tightest relationship, but I did see a structure of a marriage, even though me and my dad watched, we went through what we went through with my mom. And then also seeing what I saw in the church, I grew up, and I say this like very openly. I was one of those kids where, young boys, they're like, "Hey, I want to grow up and be an NFL player. I want to grow up and be an NBA player." My secret love was I wanted to grow up to be a husband. Right. And I didn't start talking to people about that actually until I got older, because that was like kind of soft. Right. You're like, "Hey, what do you want to grow up to be?" "I want to be a husband." But, that wasn't cool where I was coming from. But that's what I wanted to do. And so when I grew up, when I was dating in college, in my mind, the whole time, I'm thinking about, who is this person? What's her values? What's her foundation? What she got going for? Can I build with her? Even when I was playing around. Like, even when I was joking around, I wasn't, doing what I was supposed to be doing, if you will, in the relationships. I still had this thought process in the back of my mind. And then ultimately, I ended up getting with my wife, who we ended up dating in college. And we had the funny relationship where it was funny for me. I was like, we don't need no titles. We don't need no titles. For a while, and until she got
That's
to
the hood move. That's the hood move.
Until we got to the point where she was like, bruh, if you want to keep moving forward with this, we're gonna have to figure out some titles, right? And so once we got to that, we ended up having our son, we ended up getting married. And so, my foundation was I wanted to be a husband, I wanted to be married, I wanted to have that family life. So I didn't have, while I had fun in my time in Miami, I had a lot of fun. It was something on my mind with every girl that I dated. So that's my background before I got into, my thought process of getting into marriage.
Okay.
And Josh, I'm gonna come to you last because you just now getting on your journey, and I feel like your response to this would be a lot more different because you about to take on that role now, right? But I'm sure you've probably gotten advice, if not from Rick, because I know my brother, he talked to me a lot. My brother's like my father.
He still got a story to tell. He probably still got a couple.
I wanted Caleb to go. I want to save the best for last. I want.
Okay.
Yeah, so I want because I know if he know my brother, then I know he probably got an advice or two from my older brother. Trust me. So I'm gonna say, Caleb, I'm gonna go ahead and let you go, Caleb.
I mean, you can incriminate yourself. It's only us. Ain't nobody watching.
Oh, listen, I'm very blunt. I listen. He's right. I listen. I can tell you, and it's funny. My wife is here too, so she gonna hear everything, and she already know everything. So
yeah, we don't want to stop anything before anything.
Oh no, that ain't gonna happen.
Okay,
she locked in.
We're gonna set them free. We're gonna set them free before you do it.
Hey, Caleb. So share with us, like a little bit about your background and what was your thought process before you got to, got to your happy land.
Okay. I come from a 2-parent household. Father, worked hard, worked 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Never took no vacation, no nothing. All about work, making sure he provided for the home, as well as my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My father was fortunate enough to make good money and take care not only his family, but also take care of his brothers' families and just kind of be the pillar within his family. I always say it's kind of remarkable because the way my father was raised, he came from a broken home, didn't have no blueprint on what it meant to be a man or anything like that. But the job that he did, as far as what I seen with my 2 eyes, being a loving husband, faithful husband, always made sure that he supported and was win to any of our ideas of what we wanted to do. He was always there. He was always making a way. Even times when he couldn't make it to church, he always provided an atmosphere for us because he used to serve newspapers. So a lot of people used to clown him because he was worked for Washington Post and he was a Washington Post distributor, but he made that money. He's making $250K a year, but didn't have to wear a shirt and tie. So just seeing a 2-parent household, and also too, I'll say this: my father, he recently passed December in 2022.
Sorry to hear that, bro.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. From Parkinson's, because he was in the military. He was exposed to Agent Orange. So, just seeing my mom be there with my father from the ups and downs and watch her carry out her vows. Like, I'm talking about, like, from death do us part, sickness to health, from better to worse. Like, she honored those vows and watched my dad and was by his side till he took his last breath. So, what marriage means to me, like, is that, you there for your spouse, you there, whatever they need, support them, whatever the case may be, until the end. You know what I'm saying? No options. That's it.
That's what's up, man.
All right, brother Josh, go ahead, bless us, man. What was your days like before you met your queen, man? Before you met the queen, man, what was your days like out here?
So let me tell y'all first of all, I start this, man. I noticed, man, I'm loving the bald head crew that's in here, man. Y'all, I'm loving it. I shout out to y'all, man, and I'm gonna tell you this. That woman, man, boy, I was out here in these streets, baby. I was out here having a ball. not taking nothing serious. What they say, the smash, crash, and dash.
My goodness.
But then I could say I have found something. When you're out there like that, man. And when I met my girl, man, I looked at her, was like, you know what? I know that woman's going to have me, and I know that's the woman I want, and I know she's going to have me and calm me down. I could tell you, I've been in love, but I have not been in love with another female like that, and just it was just some type of calling towards her that I knew that when I met her, I knew I was going to marry her. If she would have gave me the opportunity, I was going to marry her. And that's that one woman that actually kept me centered, that loved me and reciprocated that love back, didn't expect nothing from me but just protection, love, and honor. And that was it, man. And then she just stole my heart from there.
That was actually my follow-up question. From your background to the person you decided to make your queen, like what was it about that particular person that made you say those things? So we got your answer already.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You want Terrell? You muted.
All right, I'll jump in here on this one. I knew this question would come in some form, and I was really thinking about it. There was one moment. Well, there was several moments, but there was one moment I'll specifically say that's not maybe so cliche, because there was a lot of cliche moments which were true for me. One thing that I learned when I was growing up, being able to see 40, 50-year marriages, was they're not going to be perfect. They're not going to be the fairy tale. So I was blessed to be able to think about marriage from the beginning, having a game plan in mind that this thing is going to break down at some point in time. Now, what am I going to do about it? And so with that framework, one of the things that I was looking for was, when I realized with my wife, can I build and can I grow with her? And once that question got answered, meaning we're not going to stay the same. We're 20-some years old getting married. We're going to get 30-something. We're going to get 40-something. Do we have the foundational principles in alignment that we can continue to grow and evolve? Because as people, you're going to grow and evolve. Who I was at 23 is not the man that I am today. And I don't expect to be the same man 10 years from now. And if I am the same man, shame on me, right? For not growing and developing as a person, as an individual. And so that was the key for me. When I saw that, I can grow. This won't be the same version, and we can work through any differences along the way. That's when I knew, this is the one for me.
How did you develop that mindset though? Like what clicked inside you to have that mindset?
As far as, well, again, it goes back to,
as far as building, you know what I'm saying? Like you already knew going in it that, hey, I'm looking for somebody that these are the building steps. You was aware that you was going to change. Because my philosophy is a lot of men get married thinking things are going to change, right? But they kind of like try to stay the same. And I think a lot of women go into marriage thinking things are supposed to stay the same, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? I think men expect to change. And I think that's mostly due because of our status now was not boyfriend. Our status now was husband. And all the pressure and all the things that society put on us to be husbands. You know what I'm saying? So now we like, oh, this whole thing is about to change. Whereas the women want everything that happened that was before, they want all that to stay the same way. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. You had the wherewithal and the mindset to know that ahead of time. Like, where did that develop?
Well, honestly, for real, what we're doing right now is what I was blessed to get. I got to see models of it. I got to have conversations about it, right? Like, how do you get a new idea? Well, how do you get rid of an old idea? The only way to get rid of an old idea is with a new idea, a better idea that supersedes it. And so because I grew up in the church, because I grew up and I was willing to have the deeper conversations, even as a teenager, and ask a lot of questions, I was able to get these ideas planted inside of me as seeds. And then as I, matured, I was able to see, oh, that's what they were talking about. That's what they were talking about. And that's why these type of conversations are so important for people, because some people don't have the seeds to hear that that's even possible. And so that's where I would say I was getting the seeds as a teenager, but I really didn't know what it meant. But as I grew, I was like, oh yeah, this is what we were talking about. And I had a guide, I had a guiding light to be able to direct me as I learn and as I grow. And I've been married, we've been married now over 15 years. And I feel like we've had 4 marriages. Like legit, like wow. We've had four different marriages in 15 years because we've grown. We went from college, messing around buddies to college couple to, young parent to multiple kids, young to being broke and losing an apartment to getting cars repossessed, going through struggle, making some money on the other side, moving and living in 3-4 different states, right, for my work and changing. We've had like 4 different marriages. So if it wasn't for those seeds early on, like what we're doing right now, we're planting seeds for people, we would have never made it. We did.
How old are you?
I'm 38. 38.
Jeez, Louise, buddy.
Okay. For those who are tuning in right now, thank you and welcome to Final Notice Podcast. We are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook right now. We are Final Notice Podcast on YouTube and also on Facebook. Man, we having a conversation, and I feel like it's a conversation, as I started before, it's a conversation that we need to have because, as Terrell eloquently just said, it's a seed that you plant for the next generation or for men who are currently in this situation right now. We talking about men's roles in marriages, and we're asking, for those who are catching up, we're asking about how and when did the mindset change for them to find out whether the right person that they're with now was that person. And Terrell and Caleb, you guys kind of like touched on something that I feel like a lot of us men don't have the opportunity for I really didn't talk about you. If you guys been following the podcast, I talk about my dad, that my dad was there, but my dad wasn't there. And Josh Rick will tell you this. We had both our parents in the house. But my dad, if my dad, God forbid, my dad was to pass it in, I love my dad, dearly. If God was to call him home today, the one thing that I would take from my father is that my father showed me as a man, you had to work. You had to use your both hands to work. Don't try to find a quick way to make cash. My father was a worker, right? Oh, yeah. And the one thing he didn't show me was to be a father and be a husband. But the 2 things that Josh, Terrell, and Caleb said was that their fathers was an exemplary person in their life when it came about them being who they are now. And I want you guys to kind of like dive right in a little bit because that is something key to a success in most men's marriages. When you see your father do what he's supposed to do as a man for the household, love your mom, take care of the family, do right by your mom, raise you guys right, do everything that he's supposed to do, you get the reciprocation of what you guys are right now, which is living extensions of what your fathers did to be able for you guys to be able to do for your kids now. You dig what I'm saying? So I feel like it's something that Caleb, I want you to touch on a little bit because you said your father was a provider, not just for your family, but also for his brothers and siblings.
Yeah. Which
is very important to hear because I've never heard anybody say their father took care, not just their family, but their siblings, which is really important to kind of like figure out.
Yeah, one of the things that my father, when he was younger, my grandfather, was, cheating on my grandmother. And he rolled out. He was bootlegging wine and liquor, and they kicked him out of Carolina and shipped him up here in DC. However, my grandmother, she had 4 kids, and she worked and did what she could, but my father had to grow up real quick. So my father had to kind of be the man of the household and kind of like forsake his whole childhood. One of the things he used to always tell me was, man, I wish I would have had a childhood. Although he accomplished so much and everything, he kind of lived through us, vicariously through us. So any sports events, stuff like that's why he was a big supporter of all those things. With him supporting, is like he constantly was a revolving door. Like when we passed away and we had the funeral, I mean, it was so many people coming up saying, cousins talking about, yeah, I remember your father, we was living with you guys when we was in Kettering. We was living with you guys when we was in Mitchellville. Like, my father made sure he took care of it, not only his immediate family, but his responsibility was bigger than his immediate family. It was his family, period. And he always used to tell me this. He said, "Son, the only reason why I was able to make this money was not of my own ability of how great I was and this and that." He said, "Because God trusted me to take care of my family." And I thought that was very profound, because it was very humbling. It wasn't like he was going on something like, "Oh, I'm doing this and that." He understood his assignment. He understood his mantle of what God gave him, and he made sure that he sought that thing through. He always took care of people. I mean, even kids in the neighborhood. I mean, if he seen they was without, he would buy them clothes. He would take. I remember one time my brother got a black eye when he came home, and my father was like, "Oh, now we taking all y'all to boxing." He took us down to legendary Phoenix Boxing Gym, and all of us learned how to box. And he was like, "Oh, nah, you know what? I'm gonna take the whole neighborhood." So as many as kids' parents wanted to get their kids signed up for boxing, he'll load them up in a little white van, and we go down there in Southeast and box and everything. And this is a guy who worked from 12 in the morning all the way to about 3 or 4 or 5 p.m. You know what I'm saying? He was cooking, doing everything. Never took a vacation, but he understood his responsibility to make sure that I didn't have, or any of his family members didn't have, or anybody that he came in contact did not have the childhood that he had. You know what I'm saying?
What your father did again?
He was a Washington Post distributor.
Right.
Yeah, so he would serve people, serve.
So how did he find time to do that? That's my question. Like how did he find time to do all of those things? Like how did he prioritize those things?
Man, to be honest with you, Aaron, I don't even know how he prioritized and did all that stuff. I mean, I'd say, to be honest with you, I'd say it was the grace of God, to be honest with you, because for him to be able to, be proficient at work, and then also give enough energy to not only myself, but 3 other kids, like 4 kids in the household, you know what I'm saying, and his wife and his cousins, go and see this person, taking in this person, having them live with us. I mean, and also too, making trips down to North Carolina, after a long day of work too. So to me, my father was a GOAT, you know what I'm saying, as far as right. a man, an example and everything. And one of the things that is very profound is that how great he was. He didn't even have a blueprint of what a man was to him. He was raised by his mother. I mean, thank God he was raised by his mother and his aunts, and they grew up, he grew up in the church. And he always would tell me, man, that foundation in the church, man, is what sustains me. It's the reason why I have everything. And I mean, it's just as a blessing, because he always rooted everything to his growing up in the word, in church, and everything. So, I mean, I that's pretty much what I got to say about all that.
So I got a question. I got a question for all 3 of you guys. I'm gonna start with Josh, right? Josh, you about to take on this journey. How long have you been with your fiance?
5 years.
5 years. Okay, so 5 years, you guys been kind of like going through the whole process, and now you guys have decided to tie the knot, right? I think you guys are getting married in a couple of months, right?
Oh man, 45 days.
Oh man, congratulations.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this: what do you think a man's role in the marriage is? Like, what does that look like?
Man, that's easy. I could start with what my dad told me. All he did was, if you want to find out what a man is, open the Bible, so you can see that this is not me telling you. This is something greater than me telling you. So therefore, knowing that, all I can tell you is the main goal in any man's life, if he wants to take on that woman and understand the procedures of that the reason why that man gives his daughter away to us is because he's relinquishing his responsibilities onto us, and those responsibilities is protection and security that goes hand to hand, honor, love, and just making sure that woman does right by the and it's like you know, with dealing with that. And see, that's just the role of that man, and then just that woman supporting that man in everything that man lacks. That is just the structure of it. So therefore, that's just the simple role of it. It's just making sure that you do right by that woman, you honor that woman, you love that woman, uh, and just, you know, teach her the ways of Christ and God, and therefore she could teach those kids that. And you have to walk in that, stay lined up within God. So therefore, if you stay lined up with that, then you're basically doing your duty and your role as a husband and as a man.
Hey, can I add something to this question, JoJo?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mhm.
All right, so when y'all answer this question, I want to also ask you guys, not only just a men's role in a marriage, but your vision. Like even you, Josh, you about to get married. Like, what
Right.
do you see for your household? What do you see as your vision in marriage? Like, what is your vision of marriage as you answer
Well,
that question?
yeah, the vision is, as the man, is to make sure everyone is definitely respectful. Everything starts within the home. The man has to make sure everyone is definitely respectful, stay lined up, uh, and stay stern between doing your duties within the house, cleaning, taking care of yourself, loving yourself, knowing God, and that is just that man's duty. Is that head of that household, and that's just the vision. It's just to make sure everyone is lined up and doing what they have to do, so that when they step out in this world, they already have the tools to be successful.
Terrell?
Man, good question. You know, my life, I'll start with my life vision, right? My life vision, and it fits in with the family, is to help people become better than they ever believed possible. And I help people by doing this, by teaching the principles, the foundational principles that endure time, the test of time, and showing them the tools and how to use the tools to ensure that they achieve their personal life mission. And so that's what I know I'm born to do. And so how do you fit that into a family, right? Family dynamic. You know, one of the things that I've learned through my studies, and one of my favorite authors is Dr. Miles Monroe. If you don't know Dr. Miles Monroe, you know, you're welcome.
Amazing.
You're welcome.
Very
Right?
prolific.
Yes, yeah, and he talks about it. He put a good structure together that I've really I followed, which is a man is to be the teacher of his home, because that's what God told man to do, to teach, to be an educator within his home. He told man to be a cultivator, right? He's supposed to make things better than they were given to him, right? So that's my wife. She should be a better woman because she's married to me. My kids should be developing and being better because of what I'm pouring into them, right? I should obviously be a protector. Obviously, we just talked about that. That's the easy one, right? We always think about that from being a protector, but also a provider, right? We want to be a provider. And one thing I will say, and pure vulnerability here, the one area that particularly I know Black men, we can get caught in are the two, which is protector and provider. And if we do those things, and I will say true vulnerability here, right? Because I want people to be blessed from this. I thought that was enough because that was the two things my dad guaranteed me. My dad gave me protection, even in a wheelchair. Nobody messed with my dad, right? I saw some things happen, and I'm like, bro, you in a wheelchair. I don't, that's Shorty for the block. And Shorty be like, my bad. I'm like, I don't even want to know who my dad is at this point, right? Even in a wheelchair. Protection, but then also provider. Even my dad, like I have a different story. My dad, he hustled, if you understand what I'm saying. My dad was a hustler, right? He was in pharmaceuticals, right? And he did what he had to do. We lived on county, we lived on the government, we lived on everything. My dad was a barber. He did everything he could to do to make sure that we had the life, me and him had the life that we needed to live. But those are the two things that he gave me, but he never really taught me because he didn't really know, because his dad left him to the war, to the state.
Mm-hmm.
He said he didn't teach me how to really truly cultivate, and then also the teaching of the principles and the foundation. And so those are 4 pillars that I see that I have to make sure, and then I'm continuing to develop and ensure that I give my family. Nothing's perfect on this side, but I know that that's part of the vision that I have, because it's a part of what I am born to do overall, and I chose to have a family, so they got to get what I'm born to do anyway from that side of things.
Okay, Caleb.
I would say it's fine. I'm gonna be full transparent. Going into marriage, I can't lie. I had the fairy tale like You get married and everything will be bliss and this and that and all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? However, I did have a vision, had a plan, get married, have kids, progress through our careers, continue to build our faith and grow as a family, whatever the case the Lord leads us. However, within that vision came adversity, pressing from all sides. You know what I'm saying? I could be all I'm be full transparent. Like, I slipped into what Terrell said, man. I slipped into that because sometimes I looked at my parents' marriage from a skewed standpoint where I was looking at it, seeing my dad, whatever we needed, he made sure he got it. You know what I'm saying? He always told me, hey, whatever your family needs, you got to make sure you go get it, legally, whatever the case may be. However, when it came to me as being that man in my household, protecting and providing, I kind of was a little too heavy on it. Where at one point, I was working my IT job, I was working at Uber and Lyft, coming in the house late, 2 hours, sleeping for 2 hours, doing it all over. And I did that for, like 2 or 3 years and looking up and saying, dang, I kind of like starved my marriage. You know what I'm saying? Like I really wasn't pouring into my marriage the way I needed to be. I wasn't being present, falling asleep and just not being there because I'm like, oh, I got to make this money. So I get this, get that, whatever the case may be. And when I look back now, it was a waste of my time. I understood I had to be a provider as well as my wife understood, like, she a ride or die. She graced me where, she, gives me much support, you know what I'm saying? And uplift me and pray over me and stuff like that. However, I was a little too heavy on that providing. And I had to learn how to work smarter and not harder. And then also too, like one of the things that I'm like, okay, I gotta make sure I'm fully in is making sure I'm that priest of the home. And the reason why I say that is because if we all can be honest and truthful, providing and security, we always see that from men. You know what I'm saying? We always see that. Oh, make sure you take care. Don't let nobody threaten your kids, your wife, whatever, do whatever they got to do. You know what I'm saying? Money, I gotta make sure I make more money, whatever. But when it comes to that priest of the home, we kind of shrivel up. We kind of like, oh, I don't want to, I don't want to do that. I don't want people to think I'm holier than thou. And it's like, nah, to be honest with you, like that priest of the home should be the foundation. And then all the other stuff should like kind of just flow from that. You know what I'm saying? So, I definitely just add on to what Josh said and Terrell said, that priest of the home, being a teacher, giving your kids visions, making sure that you're in tune, make sure that you're present, because you can be there and not be there. You know what I'm saying? I think everybody can attest to that. Sometimes you just like so tired, exhausted. Yeah, you're physically there, but your mind is like, I want to go to bed. I ain't hear what you're saying. You sound like Charlie Brown right now.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions and traps that men fall into. Because, I remember when I was getting married, one of my mentors, I looked at him like a serious father figure. One of the things I was told was there's no outs. It's all on you now. You got to do this. You got to do that. Like, these are all the things that we have to do as men. You know what I'm saying? But the one thing I realized that they never told us that we can still have fun. And that's why I feel like that burden of that pressure of providing and protection, I think it goes undervalued and understated of how much of a weight that comes with that. You know what I'm saying? Like that is a whole nother thing. Now you're talking about kids, a wife, a house, a car, like all of these things and these responsibilities fall on us. And as we got older, you know what I'm saying, we were, I don't know about you guys, but we weren't taught properly how to express our feelings, how to be vulnerable, how to say, hey, baby, this is killing me. This is hurting. I don't know what to do. And then, if you choose that wrong person who don't know how to love on you back when you're going to war, when we step outside our doors as men, we go to war every day with the world. You know what I'm saying? And then when you come home and you don't have that safe haven, you don't have that place where you can be vulnerable, not only being taught how to be vulnerable, where like I feel like one of the biggest things or biggest misconceptions that Black men have in this world today is that when we do speak up and take our rightful place and we say the things that's wrong and address situations and issues that need to be talked about, it gets met with you're too sensitive. Oh, men not supposed to be that way. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to underline that factor, like the burden of actually being the provider and the protector is heavier than I think most people understand and realize. And a lot of people cave under that pressure. That's why I feel like the cheating and the drinking and all these other things start taking place, because now you went from everything being happy and fun, living your life, this, that, and the other, to all of these expectations and burden and responsibilities. And now we got to meet these certain things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's crazy because and I'm glad that you guys are opening up and sharing and being transparent, because that's what we try to promote, transparency. And I think I would second that, or I would be the fifth person or the fifth wheel and say one of the biggest thing in today's society, marriages, is the finances. We go into marriages now with finances. You marry my bank account before you marry me. Is pretty much what it is now. And the question I want to have is that if you are financially, able to provide for your household, does that make you a man in that household? Finances.
I'll jump out there and say this. I know several married couples where the woman got the bag and the man doesn't. However, that woman, she elevates her husband like he is making millions. It's never like just castrating them and saying, "Oh, I make the money and you gonna be subservient to me." You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where money doesn't make you a man. It does not make you a man. We see it all the time. People being immature with money and so forth like that. So I'll just jump out there and say it like that.
Those are my poetry snaps for that lady. That that was for her. Big ups to her.
If there's one thing I want to piggyback on what Aaron you just said is you have to, and what Aaron was getting at is really men versus society as married men and as head of the household. It's us versus that society, and that's the reason why we say that providing and security is very important, because it's not all about having security and fighting off everything else. Is fighting off that society to poison your kids and your woman's mind. Social media, everything that you got to protect them from it. It's cool to look at, but a lot of our wives be scrolling down that Fashion Nova, and before you know, they done bought like 80 billion things. Mm-hmm. And then our kids on that TikTok seeing certain dances, gyrating their hips, and they seeing certain things. You got to protect them from that. And then that providing, you got to provide them with that word to say, "Hey man, this ain't right. I promise you, this ain't right. It's a different route. It's a different route to everything. Just because everybody's over there, you need to be right here." So that's just all within that man's role to provide and protect. So y'all are definitely on it.
So when it comes to the providing and protecting, right? When it comes to the providing and protecting, I think, to me personally, the balance, and I think, Terrell, I told you when we had this conversation the other day that, it was different in my household until recently. You dig what I'm saying? And back what Caleb was saying, that his wife doesn't act like she makes the money or whatever. I feel like if the man is contributing to the household, and let's say the wife is the one bringing in the money at the end of the day, to me, if the man doesn't have a pride, if a man's ego doesn't overtake him, then that will be a successful situation for both parties. Whereby most men, because how Terrell saw 40 years of successful marriages, those 40 years of successful marriages was based off of the man being the provider, sole provider of the majority of the households, right? Because back 50, 60 years ago, women wasn't even able to have the same rights in the workforces as they do now. So the dynamic role has changed when it comes to the finances in the household. For you men out there that is watching this or going to see this or going to have this conversation about it, it's okay for your wife to make more than you. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying just sit on your hands and don't do nothing in the household, but don't let your pride overtake you and say, well, I got to make more than my wife. No, it's not about that. You're not marrying your finances. Do finance play a huge role in the marriage? Yes, it does. But does it matter who's bringing in the household? No, not really doesn't. Because at the end of the day, if you and your wife have an understanding, and I think a lot of us get caught up in, I married her because I love her. I didn't marry my wife because I love my wife solely. I married my wife because I have an understanding of building with my wife. Because I can fall in and out of love with anybody. But because we and her have that understanding, it makes my love for her even a lot stronger. Because it's a foundation that was laid, right? Now, if that foundation is not there, then I can get on her nerves. She can get on my nerves. She can pack up and leave. I can pack up and leave because we fell out of love with each other. But because her and I have an understanding that, you know what, we're going to build together, we're going to struggle together, we're going to make it together, it's going to build us together. But when it came to our finances, she was always making more money than me. Did I sit on my ass? No. I'm a convicted felon. I work. Terrell put his job on the line for me to get a job. So I've tried. So even though I wasn't bringing the $100,000 in the household, I was bringing my little $40,000. I was still paying my bills, doing this, and still was taking my wife out on a date. So it's not about you. Finance. Say it again. And I thought somebody had said something. I was hearing an echo. But it's not pretty much said. What I'm saying is not solely about the man bringing so much money into the house. It's about having that understanding that, yeah, it's okay. Your wife can bring more money than you as long as you're doing what you have to do in the household, like cooking, cleaning, sharing the responsibilities, and not making her feel like she's doing everything. If you leave your woman to feel like she's doing everything, then she's going to complain, and it's going to be a whole different conversation.
Listen, can I jump in here and just say, I want my wife to make more money than me because I'm gonna make more money.
I know that's right.
I make good money. Maybe you could come on, catch me, chase me, beat me. I don't like. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, please. I've been holding it over here. I've been twitching. I'm like, man, she could please make more money than me, please. I have no ego whatsoever.
I definitely agree.
I go put an apron on, whatever you want. I put the little Mr. Clean. Remember that little thing they was walking around and do was dancing? I'll be up in there like Mr. Clean up in there, boy. I'm telling you. But no, in all seriousness, this is a very interesting topic, and and I know people get a little funny about the money, if you will. I wasn't trying to rhyme, but it just happened. I several men that I talk to, and I'll just say it this way, friends that I have are like, look, I make the money. My wife, she don't make more than me, right? There's that ego thing, there's that pride thing. But then it's like, I got my stuff and she got her stuff. And I either her allowance or she got her thing, but she don't need to know about my thing, right? Like, I have a whole different take on that. In my marriage, everything is shared. Everything is right there available. Does she have her own account? Yes, she does. Do I have an account? Yes, I do. Just because that's like how we want to do some things. But really, all the money comes into one place. And the reason I believe that is this. Like, I'm not a believer of like prenup because I've gotten arguments, not fun arguments with women that are my friends that are like, you wouldn't do a prenup if you was making all this money and then you got married. Think about that for a second. I'm making an agreement on the front end for when it's going to end, I get my money back. If I'm marrying you, if I'm going to be with you, my Bible says that we become one, right? If I'm going to become one with you, how can I truly become one with you with my wallet over here, with my pocketbook over there? Right? I'm telling you, you can have all my heart, all my soul. I'm saying all these pretty vows at the altar, but then I'm like, yeah, but the money over there, you don't get none of that. No, I didn't come in with all of me, right?
Let me ask you a question. What if you had the money? What if you had the money before she came?
Listen, look, for like, Kojo know how I am, and my wife knows. This is how we talk real. Let's say me and my wife got divorced, right? God forbid. I'm not speaking that like that, but we were having a real man conversation right now. Right. And I have a few business deals and I have some things that in the next few years are going to be a blessing. Just say it that way. Right. I have some things that if things go well and I got back together, and I had $3, $4, $5 million in the bank, and I decide to get married again, and I do that, I'm walking in with the lessons that I learned, but I'm fully committing myself to that person, right? And now I know it's easy to say right now because I'm not there, but I'm saying it on camera right now, so if anybody want to pull it later, it's because of this. I got to go all in. If I'm not all in, then I'm not in at all, especially if I'm committing my life to somebody. So I'd rather just not be married and not do it at all, not get engaged, not be in no long relationship, or you get all of me or you get none of me. Or if you get just the pieces of me, it's not really worth it in the long run for me. So I'd rather go all in or I'm all out when it comes to marriage. Like, I don't play with that.
So my thing is, and this is why my 2 cents would be on that, right? If there's anyone interested in me, they better be with me now. And that's how I look at it, right? Because once it's up, it's up. And that's just me. You know, I tried, you know, and I tried to talk to people, and you know, they look. I mean, I'm getting my health together. I'm getting in shape. I'm doing things. I mean, like, my thing is to me, it's easier to build with someone than it is to do it on your own. So my thing is, if you're not going to build with me, and I had to go all out this and build it myself, the thing I think a lot of people, especially men, have a tendency to fall in the traps of. And I think this goes to like the Kevin Samuel conversations and all that, because at that point in time, now you were considered a high value man, right? And you're in a different class. And realistically, you're going to be introduced to a different class and a different type of people. You know what I'm saying? So you want to be around a certain type of people. Now, I'm not saying that you can't find somebody that's not going to be down for you or whatever the case may be. It's just that, you know, at the same time, I need to understand where you're really coming from and what's your morals and your background, because, you know, people play those games on them type of levels. And I'm glad I don't have to play them type of games at this level that I'm at now. And I can actually find somebody on this level that I know that's going to really have my back and be down for me, because now you're seeing all of me as opposed to looking at me once I get up.
Absolutely. Can I do a follow-up to that? So it's something that came up, a trigger for somebody else said to me. They said, you know, let's say you do have several $1 million in the bank. You know, there's going to be women that are going to try to play you, right? They're going to act like they're going to play the game. They're going to do these different things if you were available again. And, you know, and this is like I can't speak even more truth right now from me. How accountable I am to myself is this. If I go out and I got all this money and I decide not to do a prenup and I go in and I get played, that's on me.
Absolutely.
That's on me. I take full accountability. Let me cut my half. That's an investment in learning and keep it pushing. Like, that's how serious, because then that means I didn't learn the lessons. I didn't vet them right? I'm a leader in a business. There's plenty of people I hire that I think were superstars, and they get in and I'm like, oh Lord, they weren't Kojos of the world. They weren't people that, you know, I should have put my job on the line for. And so I just take that mentality, and that's on me. That's a lesson learned. I'll take the L. It's money, right? Like it's that's what we're talking about right now. It's money. And if I can build it once, I can most definitely build again with lessons learned. But that's just how I think about things.
I'm gonna say this for tongue in cheek. We ain't got nothing on women, bro, when it comes to them games.
And it's crazy. It's crazy that you know, the financing part has become like see how like we've been on this conversation about the financial part of the marriage, right? And the reason why we are on the financial part is not because there's not a lot of questions left. There's plenty of questions left. And this is a part one of the first conversation of a man's role in marriage. But the reason why a lot of us, this conversation is really uncomfortable is that because most women now are making more money than men in marriages now. And it's just reality. It's not because men ain't trying or whatever their situation may be. It's just that the roles have been reversed to where women are also in the workforce are making, I feel like they're still devalued, but they're still making more than most men in marriages. And again, it's an uncomfortable conversation that you have with your friends where You know, they tell you my wife is making 200,000, my wife is making 100,000. How much you making? I mean, cool 40, cool 40, cool 50, and you know your wife is bringing in more bacon than you. Most men don't want to have that conversation because it makes them look like less of a man. But what I'm trying to get y'all to understand, those who are watching, those who are going to be tuning in, it is not about the money that makes you as a man. It is your role that determines who you are in that household. Because if that's the case, then all pastors should be looked at as bums because they do not work.
I can't say that. I know every pastor that I ever served doesn't work. So
well, I'm just saying, because I told you 85% of these pastors in this world are trash. 15% are the best ones. So, anyways, what I'm saying is, but what I'm trying to get at is, everybody can't be like Caleb's pastor and have businesses that is working for them, right? Everybody can't be like my pastor, my previous pastor that has his own job. What I'm saying is not to, I was trying to be funny, but what I'm trying to say is that most women, consistently have a job compared to most men, because men, if we don't have a career, we have jobs from A to job B that we jump around. We jump around when it comes to workforce. Women, when they find a job that they love, they're consistent in, right? So with the consistency, they have more of a financial stability than most men. When it comes to us, if we're not hitting a certain number or we ain't making more than our spouses, most society look at us as weak or we not a man. And the question is, should a man's finances determine his role in the marriage? The answer is purely no.
No.
Yeah, and I also want to say this. I think that's also a trick in the matrix, though. You know what I'm saying?
In regards
when
to
you look at worldly things, right, and you look at the way the world conceptualizes relationships and marriages, that, you know what I'm saying, we look at these little dumb internet shows and these men be dragging women and making them look dumb. I think that's the stupidest thing in the world. And, realistically, that is for those type of people. You know what I'm saying? A real woman. And like I said, the last 3 women that I was interested in or dated, you know what I'm saying, they made either double or triple the amount of money that I made. So I know real women. And I ain't talking about these superficial, weird women. I'm talking about women that just really want a real man in their life to really love on them and show them something different as opposed to being a man child. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's just a lot of matrix. But I got a real question for everybody, right? Y'all work hard. Y'all work. You can tell how long. I mean, you can say how many hours a day you work. I know, JoJo, you work 2 jobs. Who coming home and washing them dishes, man? You coming home washing them dishes?
Go ahead, Caleb. Go ahead.
I would say it's a shared responsibility between my wife and I. My wife, she works from home, and I work from home 2 times. So, we both share the responsibility of washing the dishes. Even before we both became remote workers, it still was a shared responsibility. I like washing the dishes. She likes putting it in the dishwasher. You know what I'm saying? So we share the responsibility. The only thing that we don't share is like taking out the trash. Like I always take out the trash and everything. Like JoJo said, hey, don't let that trash get, boy. That trash get, boy, you gonna
break up a happy home, man.
That's your real.
That trash can blow up. It will blow your happy home up, boy.
Yes, it will.
You're gonna be on couch mission. You ain't gonna get nothing from your wife for at least 2 weeks, man.
Come on, Josh, Terrell. Y'all got quiet on that one.
Yeah,
I
got you.
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I got you. Listen, I'll be leaving from 2 p.m. and coming home probably like 11:30 p.m. I should not have to see nothing in that sink or no trash in my house as long as I got an able team and kids in my house that all they got to do is work. All they got to do is go to school.
Oh, you put it on the kids? Okay.
Oh,
okay,
absolutely.
Okay.
I call my son the trash man. I said, trash man, we need you. Come on now. When I was living with my parents, I was a trash man. My father ain't touched no trash.
That's right.
You feel me? So at the end of the day, underneath my father's roof, I was a trash man. Now I ain't living with him. Guess what my son is? The trash man. And now the daughters is washing them dishes And me and my wife comes home, we should not see nothing. We dictate. Hey, listen, them dishes ain't good. Somebody gotta get up and go back down there. Who dish day?
You old
Who
school.
kitchen
That's
day?
what it means. You somebody with an old soul raised you. That's what it is. We was raised right. That's what that means.
Yeah, so no. If I'm getting off work, I should not have to do it unless the kids are gone and it's just me and my wife. Then we break it down. When it's just me and her, we cooking. Whoever cook does the dishes. So it's like that. So I'll probably bust some suds here and there, but no, as long as these kids up in here living rent free, no, they washing them dishes and they washing and doing everything.
I'm with Josh on that one. The kids do most of the chores, the big stuff, the dishes, the sweeping, the trash, But now it's funny because the dynamic. Remember, I said it felt like we had 4 marriages, right? Well, there was a time when my wife was a stay-at-home, right? So she mostly did most of the cooking, cleaning, and different things because she's like, I'm home doing it. Now there was times where she was like, hey, bro, I need you to chip in here or there. I did what I needed to do when the kids were young. Whereas today with the schedule she works, I do 90, 95% of the cooking, right? Because when I get home, she's still at work. So the kids, just like you said, Josh, hey, no dish better not be in the sink. I want to walk into like a brand new kitchen. I can cook. And once dinner is over, y'all can clean it, right? I'm gonna feed you. I'm gonna take care of you. And so it's really, and I think this is the bigger piece of this conversation. You talk about societal roles, like that's all they are. They're societal roles. Like I can't find half the stuff that we talk about societally in the book that's my foundation of truth, which is the Word of God, right? Like even the whole money thing. When God spoke to mankind, Adam and Eve, He said, all these things are for you to eat. Right? All of this is yours. So they both had the same amount of abundance. So whether a woman is making more money or a man is making more money, just based on where they are in their life, in their journey, in their career, their internal career aspirations, that has nothing to do with the actual roles that God would have for us in our marriage. And I think that's where we get so caught up, where we get caught in these societal roles, but they are against the principles of who we are as men and women, overall. And so I think that's where some of this comes into play about dishwashing, different things. Look, my dad raised me by himself. He did the dishes. Then when my stepmom came along, she did the dishes. So it was like, they went back and forth, and my dad can cook. He can do everything in a wheelchair. So just being able to see that and be able to see, like you said, Aaron, it's the Matrix. It really is. It's the Matrix.
That's the reason why I asked the question. That's why I asked the question. My thing is, I just wanted to go about just busting some of these myths. Because even, not just to take it from a woman's perspective, but even as a man's perspective, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's good to hear real men talk about that kind of stuff, because again, the Matrix will have you thinking you ain't supposed to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this real quick, and we have to wrap it up. But in my household, Dana don't cook. Not because she can't cook, because I wouldn't allow her to cook. Dana don't clean by herself. I mop the floor every night. My son takes out the trash from inside the household. I take it out to the can. And then I drag the can to the curb, right? And the reason why my mom, and that's how my mom raised us. Mind you, I have both parents in the household, but my mom is the one who raised us, right? My mom said she didn't want us to marry a woman that her man that she's raising have to rely on cooking for them. Mm-hmm. So she used to sit me, Rick, Manny, and Nina inside the kitchen, and she will cook. And we would be watching just so we can learn how to cook. So when I got married, I thought it was something nice to provide. That was part of me providing for my family. I come in, I cook. Then it's my food tester. Hey, what do you think about this? Does it need a little bit more salt? Okay. When I cook, she will clean the kitchen. If Destiny don't come and clean the kitchen, Dana will wash the dishes. She'll clean that. I'll clean. Dana, Destiny clean the bathroom in the household. So it's a shared responsibility within the household, but it's because it is a godly order in the household. So it's not like, Dana, you work, and mind you, I work 2 full-time jobs at the same time. So it's not like I can't say, oh, well, I'm tired. Let me go get some sleep. I leave one job and I'm up cleaning, cooking dinner, make sure the kids are good. I got food on the grill because I like to grill a lot. Then I come and serve, and I serve everybody's plates. Before I get my food, they eat before I do. Then I get myself ready to work my 9 to 9 in the morning. You dig what I'm saying? So it's not about like you guys are saying, Terrell and Aaron said, that matrix. That matrix will have you fooled that a woman is supposed to do X, Y, and Z. A woman is supposed to be doing this. But as a man, it doesn't take anything away from you if you are able to cook for your family. It doesn't take anything away from you. But because society puts pride on men's shoulders, most of us don't even go out there with the pride on our shoulder. We are forced to carry that pride as soon as we leave our doorstep because society have us looking a certain way. You get what I'm saying? So when you come out, it's crazy we having this conversation because on Saturday I ran into an old friend of mine, and I'll tell him, I say, hey man, we having this podcast, and we'll see if you wanted to come on. He said, what is it about? I said, men's roles in marriages, right? Aaron, this guy said, this is very simple. I said, okay, well, what's up? What's your ideology? He said, make the money and tell her to shut the F up. Whatever I say, she do. I said, elaborate a little bit on this one.
And that's why he's single, right?
No, he's married. No, he's married. That's the crazy thing. He's married. I said, well, what do you mean? Elaborate a little bit on this. He said, I make all the money. She don't have to do nothing but sit there and look pretty. Her Range Rover is paid for. My Range Rover is paid for. The bills are paid for. And I give her an allowance. I saw you just controlling a woman based off your finances. That's what
well, let me just step in your world for a second, right?
What's up?
That dude you're talking to, yo, dude, you're a loser. I'm gonna tell you straight up, you're a loser. I'm gonna tell you straight up. I don't even talk like this, but I'm gonna tell you you're a loser, bro. And the reason why you're a loser is because what you're not understanding and seeing is you don't have foresight and you don't have vision. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, you have a whole person that got gifts and abilities. If that person can't help grow you, motivate you, whatever money you make, if you give that woman a chance, can probably double and triple that money if she's the right kind of woman. Why would you want a liability or burden sitting at home and you just working and doing that? I don't care if she don't have a job. You know what I'm saying? My thing is God gave her natural gifts. God gave her natural talents and natural abilities. And the gifts are supposed to make room for you. And if you invest in that woman and not just control her, that woman, I guarantee, if she's the right kind of woman, it will double that investment that you put inside of her. So, man, I'm gonna tell you straight up, man, that's a loser move. That's a straight move.
You see, that's the type of mindset some men have in these marriages that, you know, the role has become where I feel like, and we can dive down a little bit this on the second part too, because we let society dictate what our marriages should be like nowadays, and I think that's the biggest misconception, because when he said that, I looked at him, I'm like, thank God you didn't date my sister, man. Thank God you didn't date my sister, because I mean, I respect all. I don't have to agree with everybody. I don't have to agree with anything. Do I respect what he said? Yeah, because that's what he feel like is right. Do I agree with him? Hell no, because I will cringe if my sister brought him home. Knowing his mindset, I can already see what he's doing. But that is why we have to have these uncomfortable conversations, so that way we can get to that point of comfortability where we got to say, you know what, if this is what we thinking, then this is not the right way for us as men to be thinking.
And you know one thing, and just to that, what you just said, and what your homeboy said, I always tell women this: if you're looking for a good man, don't look for a role model. Look for a model playing the role.
So on that note, fellas, if you guys are available, I'll reach out to you guys individually. We'll set up the part 2. Those who can make it on there, we'll carry the conversation. If you can't, that's fine. But I would love to have you guys back on, because we can finish this conversation, man. It's been another wonderful conversation. This is the Final Notice podcast. We got Josh, Caleb, and Terrell on as special guests, man. Man, I hope you guys got something from this, because every time I tell me and Aaron when we get off the podcast, I'm like, Aaron, the conversations that we have is for me personally. I take every little bit of everything that we talk about and I keep it in my back pocket, because I feel like it's so much knowledge that we get from it where I can apply it to my life. And I always tell people, judge us based off of what we're saying. Let the Spirit judge us. If we're saying what's true, if the Spirit dwells in you, the Spirit will tell you, like, hey, these brothers are lying. If we're not lying, the Spirit will tell you to as well, you know. So thank you so much for tuning in, man. Guys, man, if you guys are available, man, And definitely would love to finish this conversation, man.
Absolutely.
For
I
sure.
got so many more questions, man.
So many. We didn't even get in for real.
And I want to know, like, what y'all going to wear if your wife bought you a whole outfit and came back home with you and told you to wear it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh.
you like that. JoJo know about that.
My
one,
wife-
but
my
I'm
wife
saying,
bought
I
me
wanna
that.
know.
I'm wearing it.
I'm wearing it now.
Yeah, I'm wearing
You said if you're, can you say that one more time?
He
I want to make
said-
sure I
Your
heard.
wife bought you an olive green shirt from Express, from Men's Express, and brought it home and said, "Hey, baby, I want you to wear this. I think you look nice in this. You know what I'm saying? You gonna wear it or not? You know, I just want to get into all of that good stuff, man.
Oh, you
Like,
might.
we had a
My
conversation
answer will be
before.
very interesting then. So
See? Yeah, I want to get it. I want to get to it, bro. I want to
Yeah.
get to it.
Olive green.
Yeah.
Woo.
Olive green, man.
Hey, man, let me
we
tell
have
you
a thing
something.
called transparency and honesty over here. So
Hey, look.
No, bro.
Hey,
I'm
look,
telling you,
Terrell.
my ex-wife came home with an olive green shirt. That thing sat in my closet for 3 months. You hear me? It got to the point where, like, I guess I didn't do laundry. I was like, that was the only thing I had left. So I wore the shirt, and I got more compliments than I ever had with all of my other clothes. I said,
See?
oh, maybe she might be on to something.
See?
That's a
see?
conversation I want to have.
You see?
now I can hear 10 women.
Like, oh,
I can hear
snap.
10 women on Facebook saying, "Now, if you just listen to us, you'd be better off."
You know
Yeah, oh, yeah, but that's, hey, look, don't listen to the Matrix, fellas. Don't get caught up in the Matrix, man. It works sometimes.
Sometimes.
All right,
That's
y'all. Well, this definitely been a
That's
great
beautiful.
conversation, man. Man, we will have to continue this part 2, man. Josh, thank you so much. Caleb, you know the love between me and you goes, man. You my brother, man. You, Aaron, you know the vibe. Terrell, you know how I feel about you, man. You guys been awesome, man. Thank you so much. I will definitely be reaching out to you guys for that part 2. I feel like it's some questions that we need to we need to put on the table, and I feel like this is just the beginning. We didn't even really tap into what we wanted, how we wanted to go, but God is always going to work the way He sees fit. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We streaming live on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Sundays 7 p.m. every Sunday. Man, we are live interacting podcast. This is the Final Notice. Tune in on Wednesday for the next conversation, man.
All right.
All right, fellas, thank you so much.
All right, take it easy, man. Thanks.
All right now.